Okay, so we're going to take a week-by-week stroll through your project and kind of see what you need to work on. So you're supposed to research amusement parks, and it's pretty obvious, hold on just a second, it's pretty obvious that you have that covered. Definitely have enough roller coasters. I'm not 100% sure what parks you have just here in the spreadsheet, so that's not immediately obvious. Oh, there it is. Darien Lake, Dollywood, Nickelodeon, Magic Springs. Okay, so it's down there. Then you're supposed to find statistics for all of those, and it definitely looks like you did that. I'm not 100% sure how you got all of these z-scores over here. In fact, I'm guessing you did all of the statistics on your calculator and put them in over here. So that's fine. I don't... Is this just... Okay, so one thing that you could maybe use a little help on are these graphs over here. Some kind of labels would be nice. It doesn't say what park they're from or anything like that. So that might be something to kind of adjust. Ideally, you would have a graph that compared the different parks to each other instead of all just to themselves. But I'm going to be pretty nice in scoring those. So if you could just like put some labels and stuff on these so I know the parks that they're from or things like that, that would fix that part. The only thing that I see that's missing from the statistics data is, if we roll over here, well, these two things. Determine if there's a linear correlation between height and inversions based on the data from all of your parks, and is the correlation significant? So basically the way that we're going to do that, we're going to, oh actually I cannot edit your file. So I only have permission to view it. I don't have permission to edit it. So give me just a second. Okay, so I created a copy of your data over here, and I'm going to insert a chart, and the chart I'm going to insert is a scatter plot. Actually, let me select all of this data first, and we just want to do this for speed and inversions, I think is what we were doing. Or is it height and inversions? Let's double check. Oh, height and inversions. So I just want to select the heights. Then I'm going to press Control and select the inversions. And I'm going to insert a chart. I'm going to insert a scatter plot. Okay, so now I have height versus inversions. And okay, so once you get the chart in there, if you go over to Customize, and you go to Trend Line, actually Customize and then Series, and then Trend Line, and we can show the R-squared value. So now we have our trend line, that's the best line through the points, and we have our R-squared value. You have 25 roller coasters exactly. So with an R-squared value of 0.171, remember back in the stats chapter, we wanted an R value like closer to 1 was better, right? So if you look at the square root of 0.171, that's 0.41. So now let's go look at a table. There's a table in your book, but table significance, correlation. Here we go. And if we look down at 25 values, hey, you needed a 0.323 for 0.1. You needed a, so actually you are above that, you're above that. So basically you're at the 0.05 or 95% level. So you are 95% confident that there is a linear correlation between these, between height and inversion. So that's the one little part you need to add to yours, is adding that chart, adding the trend line, finding that value and that sentence. The only other thing that I saw on the stats part are the z-scores. You found a lot of z-scores, but you didn't actually highlight like which one out of all the parks was the tallest, fastest, etc. So I guess maybe if you could just bold the biggest numbers over here for height, length, speed, inversions. So your most inversions, looks like Mind Eraser and Viper are tied for that. For height, maybe Rite of Steel at 1.71. So if you could just bold those so that I know which ones are the tallest, fastest, etc. from all of these, that would help. So back to where we're at. The graph theory part, all that I got from you was a picture in an email. So I don't exactly know if you have written up somewhere where you did the nearest neighbor and the best edge method and what the results were. So if you could add that to something that you're going to turn in along with that picture, that would be great. So moving on down, then also with that would go the itinerary. So basically the graph theory part, which is here, is mostly not something I'm looking at right now. So that was week 6 and week 7. I'm pretty sure you probably did that, I just don't have it. So if you could make sure to look back and get this stuff for week 6 and 7, maybe put it in a document. If you did the nearest neighbor and best edge method on paper, if you could upload pictures where you drew the graphs and stuff, that would help. From there we move to the finance part. And this is where you were doing budgets and ticketing and stuff. And I think in this I definitely see week 9 over here. So that is there. I think that you might need to look a little more, like you don't necessarily need to pick specific meals on these things, but you need to make sure you have meals, a meal budget, which could be this, you know, $30, $45, $40, $45, $50 here on every day. And then make sure you get a total for the budget, because I don't see a total on here. Once you have that budget total, you can head over and finish the week 10 work, which I don't see again in the spreadsheet somewhere. And then basically you're down to turning it in. So the things that you got to clean up, adding the chart that I added, highlighting the z-scores, getting the rest of the graph theory part, and the finance part, just a little bit of budget work, and then doing this stuff for week 10, which really just is a TVM solver problem, and getting that stuff maybe in a document or maybe just in another sheet of the spreadsheet if you want to keep it all together. And then you're to the turn-in part. So part 4 is basically making a presentation, and part 5 are answering some questions. Those are worth 10 points. And over on the course web page, let me head over there right now. All of this is in Final Project Turn-In. So it links you back to the instructions. Has the rubric for how all these things are graded. Has instructions for doing the presentation. And has the questions that you're going to answer. And so basically what you'll do is just post in your individual discussion thread here all of your files, links to all of your files, whatever that you need to turn in, and you'll answer the questions in the discussion as well. And just make sure you do all of that by May 11th. Okay, so I would say you're probably somewhere, not counting the presentation, you're probably about 75% done with things. And then throwing the presentation on top of that. So you probably have a few hours of work, but not an extreme amount of stuff to do. So hopefully this is helpful. If you have any further questions, just let me know.